Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on a crucial but honestly often overlooked hero of your daily internet life. We're talking about the presentation layer. It's this invisible force that keeps your data safe and, just make sure everything works the way it's supposed to.
So, you've seen this little lock icon a million times, right? It's our universal sign for secure. But have you ever stopped to wonder where that security, the actual hard work of scrambling your data to keep it private, really happens? Now, you might think it's the application itself, your browser, that's doing all the work. But the real heavy lifting for security actually happens one level deeper, at layer 6, the presentation layer. This is where the magic really begins. To really get what it does, we need to see where it fits into the bigger picture. The OSI model is basically a 7-layer rulebook for how devices communicate. And the presentation layer? It's snuggled in right here at layer 6, acting as a super important middleman between the app you're using and the network connection below it. So what is its job exactly? Well, think of the presentation layer as a multi-talented expert. It's part universal translator and part top-notch security guard. Its main goal is to get data ready from one application so that the application on the other end of the line can understand it and, more importantly, trust it. It really all boils down to 3 core jobs. First, it translates data into a standard universal format. Second, it encrypts your data for security on the way out and decrypts it when it comes in. And third, it compresses data to make it smaller and faster to send over the network. And these jobs aren't just abstract concepts. You see them in action every single day. That translation part, it handles converting between character sets like ASCII and Unicode, which is why text looks correct no matter what device you're on. Encryption, that's what scrambles your password when you log into your bank. And compression is the secret sauce that lets you stream a high-def video without it buffering every 5 seconds. A lot of technologies you're already familiar with actually operate right here at layer 6. Ever heard of SSL and its modern version, TLS? Those are the protocols that power secure HTTPS connections. And file formats like JPEG and PNG for images, character sets like ASCII and Unicode, and even compression tools like gzip. Yep, they're all part of the presentation layer's world. So what's the bottom line here? It's simple, really. Every single time you shop online, check your bank balance, or send a private message, the security you just take for granted is being handled by layer 6. Without it, your data would be flying across the internet in plain text, completely exposed for anyone to grab. And this just shows the difference perfectly. It's night and day. Before the presentation layer does its thing, your password is just, your password. Plain, readable text. But after layer 6 gets a hold of it and applies encryption, it becomes this meaningless jumble of characters, absolutely useless to any snoops out there. Okay, so that's what's supposed to happen. But what if that security fails? If the encryption at layer 6 is weak or isn't set up right, it opens the door for some really big risks. We're talking about things like man-in-the-middle attacks, where a hacker secretly sits between you and the server, reading and maybe even changing your data without you ever knowing. And trust me, the consequences of a weak presentation layer are pretty severe. Sensitive data can be leaked, those man-in-the-middle attacks become a real threat, and businesses can face serious trouble for not complying with data protection rules. So getting layer 6 right isn't just a nice-to-have. It's absolutely non-negotiable for modern cybersecurity. Now, let's bring this back to something I'm sure we've all seen, that dreaded "your connection is not secure" warning in your browser. It's alarming, for sure, but what's it actually telling you? Well, more often than not, it's your browser screaming that there's a problem, right here at layer 6. So when your browser shows that warning, it's basically saying, hey, I can't establish a secure, encrypted connection at the presentation layer. This could be because the website's security certificate has expired, or maybe the server is trying to use an old, weak encryption method. Or it could be that the certificate doesn't even match the website you're trying to visit. It's your browser acting as a final line of defense against a faulty layer 6. It's also really important to know what the presentation layer doesn't do. It's a specialist. It's an absolute expert in translation, encryption, and compression, but it doesn't do everything. For instance, it doesn't decide the best route for data to take across the internet. That's the network layer's job. And it doesn't manage the actual conversation between computers. We'll see that's the job of the session layer. So let's just quickly pull it all together. The presentation layer has those 3 main jobs. It formats, encrypts, and compresses our data. Remember to think of it as the ultimate translator and security guard for the network. And now you know its role is so critical that when something goes wrong, it's often the reason your browser throws up that big security warning. Okay, so we've seen how Layer 6 gets our data all prepped and secure for its journey. But this brings up the next big question, doesn't it? How do two applications even start, manage, and end the conversation that allows them to communicate in the first place? For that answer, we need to move one layer down to Layer 5, the session layer.
Thanks for watching. Like, share, and subscribe.